know we're broadcasting elsewhere, like Thailand, I know for sure. So, good morning all over the rest of the world. And I don't know why I just said the rest of the world. Apparently, it's because I'm still waking up and waiting for my tea to be drinkable. Who's here? Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, are we live? Are we live? Not yet. How about now? It's so funny if you guys could just hear the things that we babble about while we're waiting to go live. It's pretty funny. Okay, looks like we are officially live now. So, hello there. Good morning. It is Thursday, April something or other, and you are watching Rise and Shine with me, Cassandra Renee, aka Wild Blossom Beacon Coaching. That's me. That's what I do. That's the name of the biz. And on Thursdays, we talk about what we're thankful for. So it's not just reserved for a particular genocidal holiday, but it is actually reserved for every day. But really, because I love alliteration and I like having themed catchy days, Thursdays. So Thankful Thursday. So good morning, guys and gals alike. Go ahead and type in non-denominationals. However, I embrace y'all. And go ahead and type in the comments. Let me know who you are and what you're thankful for today. Because the collective power of, well, even if it's not collective, just stating what you're grateful for, what you're thankful for, really helps elevate your mood. You can be in a gloomy mood, and the second you start thinking about, well, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that, it automatically it's a mood booster because you're expanding your awareness on the things that are currently existing in your reality. And you can, the gratitude can lead into happiness. And that you can even extend further and lead into gratitude for future things, things to get excited about, things to come, even if you don't know how or why or where that's going to come from. I actually had an oracle card yesterday that said, leave statistics or keep statistics away from your dreams, right? We get so caught up in the logic of life that we stifle our abilities to manifest and to dream, and that's part of growing up, right? At some point we're told that we have to get our head out of the clouds and be realistic and do the things. Well, why does that include no longer dreaming? It doesn't. Look at people who are doing crazy, amazing things. The Richard Bransons of the world, the Elon Musks of the world, the Bill Gates of the world, for better or worse, like it or not, we're not talking about politics, but they have very expansive thinking. And that expansive thinking has led to great wealth, great riches, because they're constantly exploring, well, let me dream up this, let me dream up that, let me dream up this. And they're constantly trying things that are failing all the time. But then they're coming up with something else. And, they're coming up with all these different creative ideas that at some point something's going to stick because they're constantly dreaming. And it's that continuation of gratitude. Well, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for this next thing that's going to happen. I'm grateful for this next thing that's I'm conjuring up. And so when you get really good at being grateful about the here and now and grateful about the past, that's when you can start almost bending time and space and creating your future. So message in, tell me what you are grateful for, or aka thankful for, on Thankful Thursday. And while you are doing that, I'm going to see if my tea is drinkable, and we will get into what we're talking about today. Oh, so I just got this new tea. It's apple tea. They're all like a green tea base. It's apple tea. And definitely think this is going to require 2 tea bags if I'm going to have a mug this size. But from what I can kind of taste, it's tasty. Okay, so we're still going to be talking about your character and characteristics of you. So if you have your journal, I would recommend grabbing that, or else you'll want to hit the replay because there's a bunch of journaling exercises that we're going to cover to really get to the heart of who you are and what you're about. So before we get to that, I'll give you a second to run and grab your journal if you don't have it out already. By now, if you've been watching the Rise and Shine program, you should have it already set like, oh, yep, we're going to write some stuff down because she's going to give some nuggets and I'm going to want to capture those. But let's start off with a quote, shall we? If you don't stick to your values when they are being tested, they're not values, they're hobbies. It's by Job Stewart. And it's funny because it was yesterday, I think. Yesterday or 2 days ago. Everything's a blur. I was talking about how it's good to have hobbies, and your hobbies we're in such a gig economy, or at least we were, that people forgot that hobbies can just be hobbies. They can just, do stuff to be fun. You don't have to monetize everything. And this is a true testament to character and to your values, like when you are being tested, are you sticking to them? Even though you don't have a job right now necessarily, are you still getting up at a reasonably regular scheduled job so that when you do get a new job, it's not an adjustment period. Now, it's one thing to take like a week off to just, recalibrate, get your feelings together and all that sort of thing. It's another thing to get caught in a cycle and allow yourself to seep into depression. Now, that can be a tricky subject, and yes, depression is an ailment, and yes, it's a quagmire it's a labyrinth of different aspects, but there are certain types of depression that you can proactively choose to fall into or not. And this is one of those times where it's a slippery slope and you have to be careful, but it is entirely possible to correct it and counteract it and avoid depression altogether. But it's that kind of like waking up 20 years from now going, who is this person in the mirror? Like, how did I get like this? Where did all this weight come from? Where did these gray hairs come from? Which, by the way, I'm noticing this is just light reflected. These are not gray hairs. They're fine blonde hairs. It's just the way the light is today. I had a moment I'm like, did those gray hairs just pop up overnight? No, they're not gray hairs. But yeah, it's that moment of just like waking up going, who am I? What's going on? And you can avoid that. You can avoid that by consciously taking into consideration many of these practices that I've been putting into place for you. Meditating daily, daily gratitude practices, affirmations, taking these checks checks and balances of assessments, like where am I now, where am I going, that sort of thing. It's keeping everything in alignment so that you don't get too far off the path going, wait a second. And that is also what can help keep you away from depression. Or if you're starting to veer towards depression or already in it, get you out of it. And so when you are refocusing in on, okay, what are my values? Because values and character go hand in hand. So we're going to dive in more on the value side of things now, which is why this is so relevant. So when you can stick to, okay, I know what my character is, which is why we did the evaluations the past couple days. When you can get a good sense of, okay, what really are my characteristics? Who really am I? What's definitive of me? Values surround that. And what is important to me. And if you don't stick to that, okay, staying in good health is important to me. Getting a decent amount of sleep, but not oversleeping. Oversleeping can make you tired, and that doesn't work out either. So what are these important things? Good hygiene, I value intelligence. Okay, so then why are you numbing out in front of Netflix for 12 hours a day? You know, what are the things that you value? Communication, good relationships. So what are you doing to foster those? Looking at those things. If you don't stick, what Job is saying is, if you don't stick to your values when they're being tested, or like Thomas Mulcahy said, the measure of a man's real character is what he would do if he knew no one would find out. When no one's watching, are you still doing the things? You know, all these great creatives and great successful people, they're still operating on the back end when no one's watching. So this isn't a call to say you have to push, push, push and do all the things all the time and constantly be active. Like, that's how burnout happens. No, this is just a reminder to say, check in with yourself. Are you being in alignment with what you say you want? Are you acting and thinking and speaking in accordance with what your values are? And for those of you who are like, honestly, at this point, I'm not even sure what those actually are. Good news. You're in the right place, because we are going to dive in and figure out what exactly your values really are so you can recalibrate and get that figured out and then stick to them. So with that, let's go into another affirmation to add to your list. And that is, I am open to giving to those in need. Now, does this specifically have anything to do with it? Not necessarily. But it's a good one to have in there. We can add in another affirmation because this one actually does. And that is, I am aligned with my values. So I am aligned with my values, keeping you on the straight and narrow. What those values are, we're about to get into that. But I am open to giving to those in need. Why is that a good affirmation to have right now? Charity or contribution, not necessarily the same thing, are values. Maybe they're yours, maybe they're not. Maybe they might be. Maybe me having just said those words kind of just sent a little zing and that felt good. Especially for such a time as this, being available, holding space for others, such like I do, being open to saying, how can I be of service today? In what ways can I show up in the world to alleviate suffering, to alleviate pain, to offer services, to be creative, to offer my assistance? And this can show up in many different ways. It can show up in, do I have some extra food I can spare to donate to a shelter or a collective? I know, like, my apartment complex has started, I haven't heard anything about it and I haven't looked into it, quarantine and such. But as a nice gesture, my apartment complex sent out an email about putting together some sort of food pantry themselves. Good morning, Christina. So that's a way of like, do I have some extra things? I mean, by now, a month in, I would kind of think most of us have done the overhaul in our homes, so we've cleaned out our pantries. But if not, maybe do that and be like, hey, I'm actually never going to eat this, even if I have to. I don't know why it's in here. It's still good. Maybe I can donate that. Or, clothing, food, that stuff is still, just because we're facing a pandemic doesn't mean all the other world problems have gone away. So if there is something that you feel called to be able to be of service about, if there's a way that you can serve, if you can go plant a tree safely, if you can go donate to a cause of your choice, if you can volunteer in some way. I know, like the other day, Screwball was on here talking about how they were donating masks and hand sanitizer, and there were people who offered to help them do that. Just time. Those of us on the Quarantine Network, this is our way, and I know that we occasionally have slots open if people want to jump on and be of service in some way. We're donating our time to be of service. Maybe you can get together with a local a local library or children's hospital or nursing home and figure out some virtual story time or, way you can contribute that way. I know I've got friends in Buffalo, New York. They do I think they're actually I should check in with them today and see if they're doing anything like this. The Western New York Superhero Alliance, I think is what they're called. And it's just a total volunteer organization where they dress up in their favorite cosplay and they go to, children's hospitals and they go to other functions like that to raise money and awareness. And it's totally volunteer based, and they just go and bring a smile to the kids' faces and interact as these characters. And so I wonder, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they started doing some virtual things, being of service that way. So there's so many ways that you can be open to give to those in need. So it's a good mantra, it's a good affirmation to have. And it can be, in a charitable sense like that, or even just, hey buddy, how you doing today? I know I just called and talked to you a couple days ago, but, I miss you. I just want to see how you're doing. It can be that simple. And just something that I've really fallen into, because I'll be the first to tell you, I am the biggest proponent of text me, don't call me. I just never, unless I was dating you, getting to know you, or it was a business call, like quick, tell me what's going on and get off the phone. I never like to just talk on the phone just to talk. Shocking, I know, because I'm a talker. But I never liked it. That has since changed a little bit, but it's changed with video chatting. I really enjoy video chatting with people. And I really enjoy video chatting from home versus, now don't get me wrong, I still love being social and being out and about and being in environments with people, but man, do I love the whole and now, as opposed to, I gotta put something else on, I gotta get ready, I gotta drive wherever, I might have to go get gas, I have to do all the nuances that go into having to go someplace. I'm really a lot more low key. I'd like to think of myself as more high maintenance, and in some factors I am, but I'm really more low key. So I really like the idea of okay, at this day, at this time, oh crap, I gotta stop what I'm doing in 2 minutes and then I'll be there. But I really encourage you, all this to say that I really encourage to get from behind the screen texting and get in front of the screen visually, to actually be there visually and or on the phone. It makes such a bigger impact, especially in a time of uncertainty and everything that everyone's going through right now. It makes a bigger impact. And this is coming from somebody who much, much, much prefers just texting. So even just picking up the phone or setting up a virtual coffee date with a friend or a virtual tea date, you don't have to be drinking anything, just a virtual hangout can be of service to those in need. You never know how you can touch somebody's life. So being open and being available. Anyway, that's your dissertation on affirmations. So I am aligned with my values and I am open to giving to those in need. So now, let's figure out what those values are. You had plenty of time to get your journals. So let's talk about a few things. Now, typically when I do this exercise with my clients, you are only allowed 90 seconds to do this. I do not want to be on a live video for this sake. I mean, when I do workshops, I do it live video, 90 seconds. But considering the nature of the show and people tuning in here and there, it would just be weird if they show up and there's just 90 seconds of silence and what's going on. So I'm not going to do it like that. So you guys get a little bit of a cheat sheet. So we'll just talk about it. But typically when I go through this exercise with my clients, it's a timed exercise. And the reason it's a timed exercise is because we go into overthink. And when we start overthinking things, we start writing down things that aren't necessarily that important to us. And that's not to say that they're not important to us, but we start writing down things that are not our priorities. And when you are under a time constraint, you're going to write down the first things that pop into your mind. Now, you might look at that list later and be like, why was that the first thing that popped into my mind? Like, that is not, like, I totally forgot to write this down and this down and this down. And, like, those are the things that I'm, like, actually focused on. Those are the things you're shooting on yourself for focusing on, but they're not the things that you really desire to be focusing on. So it's interesting what comes up for you when you've got a short amount of time to really bring it up. And if it's not something that's at the ready, like bam, within 90 seconds, it's not that important to you. And you are going to try to justify and convince yourself otherwise. And I'm telling you right now, chances are, if it's something that you're going to try to justify, like, no, it should have been in there. Like, I don't know why, it didn't come to my mind. My guess is that's also something that you've been struggling and really trying to accomplish for longer than it should have. I'm guilty of that. I've done that several times. And I have held on with a death grip, choking the life out of something that I was attempting to make flourish, right? Like, no, I'm going to do it. Meanwhile, it's freaking dead because I squeezed the crap out of it. And I'm too reluctant to let go of it because I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Do what? No, you're not. Go get a new one. So, gonna give you your autonomy, but and we're not gonna. You can jot these down now while we're live together. But if you go back and you're actually doing the work, which I hope you guys are, and I know some of you guys are because I get your messages, I read your comments, and I love when you guys send me feedback, by the way. When I get your messages throughout the day, it really lights me up, to see like, hey, I watched the video, sorry it was late, but I watched this, and this is what I got out of it, or here's this picture of that. Like, it seriously makes my day. So my feelings are not hurt if you're not on the live, although I love the energy that I feed off of when I see you guys tuning in, but it seriously lights me up throughout the day when you guys are like, hey, this is what I got out of this, or I did this or that. So thank you guys. Thank you. So ready to figure out what your values actually are? Question number 1. So we're just going to give you a couple seconds for these. If time and money were no issue, what would I want to experience in life? So what are some top things that I would want to experience in life if time and money were not an issue? And I will say that this exercise is very useful to do. It's a good idea to do this exercise twice within a short time frame. And what I mean by that is, let's say you do it today, do it again in like a day or two. Because if you're somebody like me, who is specifically ingrained in the masculine energy, logic, gotta do this, no, I said I was gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, damn it, no matter what. You are probably, the first things that you're going to write down are things that you've conditioned yourself, even though they're not necessarily coming from the heart. Part of doing this exercise as a timed exercise is such that you will get to flow from the heart. But I challenge you, you do this exercise today, and then you do it again in a couple of days, and maybe you do it again in a week from now. You're exercising that heart muscle. You're getting more in touch with yourself versus your brain. Your brain is excellent for making sure you stay alive and making, solving math problems and stuff like that. When it comes to understanding your desires, your brain is like your worst enemy. Your brain thrives on logic and functions and methods, and it will sabotage. That's going to bring in logic where dreams want to thrive. And you need the masculine and the feminine to build a solid foundation and to really collaborate together and make everything flourish. But if you bring in, it's like chemistry. If you bring in the logic too soon, it stunts the growth of the dream. So if you're someone like me who has had challenges allowing yourself to dream big, allowing yourself to play in that space of possibility and wonder, and very much like, well, no, I've got this business plan and I've got to do this, and then you've got this to-do list that's a mile long, maybe not even masculine, like you might not consider it masculine energy, but if you have a to-do list, you're a methodical person, you're a checklist person, if you are a very organized person, you're the person I'm talking to that you're going to want to do this exercise a couple of times. Because I guarantee the first couple of times you do this exercise, you're going to go right into your logic-based thinking. And what would I want to experience? Oh, the business stuff that I want to do. And I want to grow up by this. And I want to do this. And I want to have this, and this. In your whole life? Really? That's what you're truly focused on? Guys, you're going to want to do this exercise a few times. So, for everyone else, that's like, I want to have a horse ranch. I want to travel the world. I'm going to get a hut in Bora Bora. Like, cool. You probably only need to do this like once every few months, once a year. You're good. But the rest of us, you're going to want to hit this a couple of times. It's like medicine, right? It's muscles. You just got to work it. All right. So, next up on the list. So, again, this whole thing was if time and money were not an issue, what would you like to experience in life? In life. Not today, not during quarantine, in life. Okay. The next one. By the way, for those of you guys just tuning in, it's Thankful Thursday. Hi! Type in the comments and let me know what you're thankful for so we can celebrate it. What you focus on continues. I don't know why I started out like that because I know that's the wrong way to say it. What you appreciate appreciates. So we want to celebrate and show gratitude for what you are thankful for so that it can continue to show up in your life. Okay. Speaking of growing and appreciating, how would you like to grow? Again, this was normally a timed exercise. So in 90 seconds, like right now, because we're not doing a timed exercise, like the first 3 to 5 things that come to your mind. How would you like to grow? Intellectually, spiritually, physically, emotionally, romantically. What are 3 to 5 things like off the top of your head? We're just putting it out there. What are ways that you would like to grow? And if you were here with me yesterday, you kind of got a jump start on that with the exercises we did as far as where are you currently, where would you like to go? So that can kind of help you. Good morning, Richie. Ooh, that's awesome. Love that. Richie says he's thankful for having a second chance with his family. Oh, I love that. Love, love, love. I'm just gonna love that right now. Love it, love it, love it. Love that. I guess I should share something since I'm talking about that, huh? Thankful Thursday. I am thankful that I have set into motion some dreams of mine that I've been dancing around with for quite a while. And I'm still not ready to make the big announcement yet, but I'm making some big moves. I will say that. I'm making some big moves. So I'm grateful for the big moves that are happening in my life. I am grateful for the Quarantine Network. I am grateful for all of you guys tuning in and all of your comments and your messages throughout the day. I'm grateful for all of my new clients that I've been getting and being able to be of service to help everybody. And speaking of being of service, in case you didn't know, in a few hours, so I've got 2 free sessions today. I'm doing group coaching at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and then 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm doing group coaching totally free. It's not on social media, so if you'd like to get in, just send me a DM with your email. That puts you on my newsletter, and then I will send you the link for it. And feel free to pass that along to all your friends. It's a great way where we're doing one-on-one coaching in a group setting, which what I love about that is even though we have a limited amount of time together, I'll get through as many questions as I can as possible. And it's great because even just being there, sometimes people ask questions that you would never think to ask. And they're really good questions and you're really glad they asked. And you get answers and healing out of things that you didn't see coming. So even if you're not sure what you might ask, it's a really good idea to join if you've got the time, which many of us do right now, because you never know what you can get out of it. So that's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today, totally free, not on social media. You got to get the link to get in. So send me a DM with your email address so I can send you that link. And then, of course, you can pass it on to all your friends. The more the merrier. I would love to have you there. And of course, you can go to both sessions if you like. And if you're not able to make either of those sessions and you would like some actual one-on-one time with me, all good. I offer free clarity calls. Your first one is always on the house, and that is at least a half an hour one-on-one of the two of us. You're always going to get a breakthrough, and you're always going to walk away with an actionable takeaway that you can implement right away. Just like with these videos that I do with you guys, every single time I interact with another human being in any aspect of coaching, those are my goals. To make you have an aha moment of like, I get it. Get your breakthrough. And to give you some actionable thing that you can take and implement right away. Like these journaling prompts, like these questions. Or usually you get homework. And I will follow up on you with those. I want to know how they work. Because it's when you have those breakthroughs, that's like my my Super Mario, like getting his like 1-up life. It's like, yes. Like that's my calibration for my alignment, that like I am on the right path. I am doing things because I want to help out. These are things that I've learned that would work for me, and I'm just passing the information on. All right. So you've had plenty of time now to write how you would like to grow. Ready for the next thing? And for those of you guys just joining in, typically this is a timed exercise. We're not doing a timed exercise because of the format of the video. This isn't like a workshop. So we're just going to write down, or you can even type in, which is really cool, so it can be interactive, like the top like couple of things that come to mind when I say this. So this is our way of assessing what your values are. It's kind of a two-parter. Where am I going? How would I like to be remembered when I'm gone? Where am I headed in life? It's kind of a big question. Would you like to be remembered as the person who always got the party started, like the party would never die when you were there? Would you like to be remembered as the biggest donor to your church organization? Would you, and keep in mind, this is not being based off of your current or past actions. because you're still alive, right? You're still breathing, which means you still have time to put into motion these actions to achieve these goals. So let's say you'd like to be remembered as the biggest donor to your organization. And right now you maybe donate $20 a year. And you're like, I don't know how that could ever be possible. Well, we're not looking at your past. We're not looking at your current. You're not a billionaire yet. Keyword yet. Doesn't mean it's not possible. So how would you like to be remembered? You'd like to be remembered as the biggest donor in your organization. Okay, so awesome. That was like one of the first things that came out of your consciousness when you wrote that down. You don't know where that came from. You don't know why that came from. Guess what? You can go back and analyze this later. Right now, it's about a stream of consciousness, just spewing it out, because this is what's coming out and showing you what your actual values are. So you get to analyze it and think about it later. Right now, stream of consciousness. What comes up for you? We're not looking at the how. The hows come later. We're just looking at the what am I about? What's important to me? And keynote, when you have these are great things to bring to the coaching sessions. Like, hey, when I did this exercise, this is what came up for me. I have no idea. Like, why would that come up for me? I've never done more than this. Well, let's talk about that. So these are great prompts to bring with you to coaching sessions, just so you know. This is how you get to know yourself better. This is how you get to achieve the goals that you would like. Okay, ready for the next? This one's a 3-parter. Again, just jot down first couple things that come to mind. What is most important in my life? What do I value the most? What am I most passionate about? Yes, it's a 3-parter, but they're all related. So, riffing off the cuff, what are the first things that come to your mind? What's the most important, not most important thing necessarily, but what's most important in my life? That I have financial stability, that I'm healthy, that I'm loved, that I'm heard, that I'm seen. What's most important? What do I value the most? Integrity, honesty, money, love, likes on social media. What am I most passionate about? Horses, manga. That's the Japanese stuff, right? That's what I was going for. I don't know. It just came to the top of my head. I don't know. What am I most passionate about? Healthy living, connecting people. Like, what? Just off the cuff of your head. Like, what are you most passionate about? So, these kind of things. All right, on to the next thing. I'm not giving you too much time. We're not going the full 90 seconds, but I'm also not giving you too much time. Next thing. Off the top of your head, first 3 to 5 things that you want to jot down. What brings me the most joy and sense of peace? What image, maybe there's imagery that pops to mind. Maybe it's not necessarily like words or things that come up. Honestly, the second I just said that out loud, for me, Ferdinand the Bull, laying in the grass, sniffing a bed of flowers. That's literally what popped up for me. Is it an image of your kids when they were babies sleeping peacefully? Kids' laughter. Rocking chair on the porch at sunset in the summer. Looking into your partner's eyes and seeing the love there. Looking into your bank account and seeing a comfortable number. What first, 3 to 5 things that pop into your head. A good cup of tea, a nice cozy blanket. Like, what brings you the most joy and sense of peace? It's so interesting when you look at these later. Like, oh wow, I actually wrote down a bunch of nature things. And I live in the city. And I don't get to experience a lot of these things. Oh, my soul is craving these things. Or, it speaks a lot when you're just writing these down in a quick timed exercise, like whatever comes to mind, it's that stream of consciousness. That tells you a lot about who you are. And again, for those of you who are like me, that I'm going to request that you do this a couple of times, timing yourself. It might take a couple of times to dig past those layers to get to that, because you're so conditioned to work, logic. Well, theoretically, it should be this. The Norman Rockwell lifestyle that it's supposed to be is this. So logically, I should write down this. If you look at that list and you don't feel lit up and you don't feel a zing and you don't feel excited when you go back and look at these lists, do them again. Because you're getting to your truths, you're getting to your values. Now, it's okay to look at them and be like, huh? Where did that come from? That's good. That's something you want to lean into, because that tells you, if you don't know where it came from, tell me more. Where did that come from? Why did that show up? What does that signify for me? Explore that. That's a fun place to go. But if you look at it and you're just like, yes, of course, yes, of course, yes, of course. You're not a robot, honey. And my guess is you've been living most of your life proving your worth, living your life by only being valued by the work that you've produced. And if you're from the East Coast, I relate. Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, Maryland, I understand. We were all born and bred that you are only valued by what you contribute. It's just the way we were raised. And there is merit to that, but that is not the truth of you as a human. And I'm going to say that again. There's merit to that, but that's not the truth of you as a human. So go back and look at these lists. We've got one more to do. And you're going to go back and look at these lists. And if it doesn't light you up, if it looks like a yes, of course, like if you find yourself, yeah, I should, going through this list, like, yes, this should bring me joy and peace. Yes, this should light me up. This should. If you're shoulding on yourself, do it again. No more shoulds. You're going to look at this and you're going to do this exercise timed enough times where you're going to look at this and be like, yeah. Or you're going to be really confused and be like, I have no idea where this came from. But that confusion is good, because that ignites that curiosity, that young spirit, that little kid in you that's like, oh, Rip Van Winkle, I just woke up. Can we go ask some questions now? Can we go explore? That's good. Especially when it comes to figuring out who you are or remembering who you are. It's on my website and I say it all the time. You're not broken. You just forgot who you are. And who you are right now isn't necessarily who you really are. It's just who you've become so far. So it's good. It's good if you look at this and you're like, I have no idea what that's about. Bring those questions to coaching. Bring those to a clarity call session. Bring those to group coaching, because that is going to be fun. So the last part in this, again, first couple things off the cuff that just come to you. What does a successful life look like for me? It's a loaded question, which is why it's the last one. Taken all these questions that we just went through. What does it look like? What's a successful life look like for me? And I often find this one to be a little bit difficult when you're writing it. But again, when you do it a couple of times, and when I say do it a couple of times, I don't mean do this exercise, wrote it down, okay, 90 seconds, all right, and then, okay, do it again, 90 seconds. No, I mean like give it a few days. Sit on it, let it marinate. Those walls take time to dissolve. Sometimes they come smashing through, great. But depending upon the thickness and how long those walls have been standing, it might take a minute. So give it a few days, give it a week, come back, reassess. So, oh, good. Arthur says such great points. You're dealing me in slowly. Good. Yeah, you need to just kind of like, it's baby steps. Some of the stuff is like, I just had a client yesterday who just started my 90-day program, and she caught herself saying, finding that she was feeling impatient in the first couple of videos. The first week of my 90-day program of the 12 weeks is all about health and wellness, and it's an easy week. And I lay it out there. I'm like, look, this week we're taking it really easy because it's gonna get deep. We're gonna dive in, and I don't want to scare you away, and I want to prime the foundation for you. And she was like, yeah, I found myself getting really like frustrated and kind of annoyed. Like, yeah, I know this. Why did I spend money on this? Like, I know this. And here's the perfect thing. Before I had a chance to say anything, she goes, so after I finished writing that, put my journal down, I got up, went outside, took my shoes off, and just stood in the grass and grounded myself. And it just felt so good. And I'm like, and when was the last time you did that? She's like, don't know. It's been a long time. And I go, see? If you would have just dove in and got what you thought you needed, what you were looking for, that wouldn't have happened. Had you not gotten frustrated and got what you thought you needed, it wouldn't have done the deep work. It would have been topical. It would have been motivational. It would have been, you would have heard what you wanted to hear and moved on. They say when you're reading and you're listening to something for the first time, your brain only picks up like the things that you highlight and the things that you're like agreeing with. It only picks up with things just that you agree with, things that you already know, because it's already in your conscious awareness, which is why when you're learning, it's about repetition, which is why you got to go back and re-watch videos, re-listen to things, reread things, because the more and more you watch and the more and more you listen, the more and more you do these exercises, the more is going to come up for you, because you're allowing it to seep in like medicine. You're not just going over like, yeah. And so because she was going in easy, yeah, I know this, she got to a different level because she was glazing over the things she already knew. She was listening to things and she was getting frustrated with the things that she already knew, and that prompted her to take an action she wouldn't have taken otherwise. And the light that just lit up as I said that, because it was funny, because she was kind of coming to it as like a confession, like, I was kind of having like a little bit of buyer's remorse, and she was talking herself through it, and then she was like, and then that felt so good, and I'm like, she's like, oh my gosh, you're right. So when you catch yourself, and that's, I think in personal development, you really have to allow yourself those baby steps. You really have to allow yourself those gracious moments. Again, sometimes those breakthroughs, like they're smashing. And sometimes they come in very quietly and slowly. And it's good to give yourself that time and that ability to just kind of sit with it and know that it's okay to go back in and back over this. And You know, the Rolling Stones, not one of my favorite bands, but you get what you need. You might not get what you want. You know, she wanted to get in the first couple days of the program, she wanted this like, oh yes. And instead, she got what she needed. She got that I'm making time for me. And she ended up making time for herself, which she might not have done had she like, oh, quick fix, got it, boom, back into work. And she literally said, she was like, I was trying to multitask. I was trying to listen to your video and get work done at the same time. And I was like looking for that nugget so that I could continue on. And I'm like, well, now you know. The whole point is to make time for yourself. And you got frustrated out of that and you ended up making time for yourself anyway in your own way. So you got what you needed, just didn't show up the way that you were hoping for it to show up. But I'm so glad that you did. And it was just that like, ah. So I'm so glad. So anyway, back to this last one. What does a successful life look like for me? Hopefully, I know I was talking in there, but hopefully you had some time to write down like 3 to 5 things that come to mind immediately, like what does a successful life look like for me? I actually redid this exercise earlier this week and I had this really great epiphany that, you know, we're constantly like, first off, I would like to acknowledge and give a really big hand to everyone who stands up and says and takes ownership and says, you know what, yeah, I would like to make $1 million. I would like to be a millionaire. Because think about it, 20 years ago, barely even 20 years ago, people didn't say that, let alone maybe if they thought it, but they sure as heck didn't say it out loud. And I mean, even when you do the numbers, $1 million is a lot. That's a really big number. And I think that in terms of society, we toss that term around like, yeah, we know it's a big number, but it's still almost taboo in the sense that it's so big that it's still so vague. And we're not able to realistically understand just how big that number is. And as a result, we're missing all the numbers in between. And the same can be said of other aspects of happiness. So money is just a really good way of looking at this and using it as an example. We think that we need X to be happy. Substitute money, a specific type of relationship partner, a specific vehicle, house, tangible item, you name it. We think that we need a specific fill in the blank. And we have our sights set on that. And I'm all about having your sights set on the big picture and manifesting big things. Absolutely. But I think that so much gets lost in the beauty that's within all the other things along the way. And this kind of goes along with, you know, the beauty is in the journey, not necessarily the destination. It correlates to that, but on the deeper level, because that's just a cliche statement that by itself, it's numbing, right? We've tossed it around just the way $1 million is kind of numbing. Like, we don't fathom just how much that really is. And so I went through and did a similar exercise to this, you know, what does a successful life look like for me? And I actually went in and I plugged in the numbers. Like, I dreamed big, and then I got real with myself and I was like, all right, now the scary part. Now that I had fun, how much does a unicorn actually cost? And because so often we look at the cost first and then we talk ourselves out of it. So in the reverse, you look at the unicorn, you do the exercise, you warm up, you stretch the brain, and you play with that and you stay in that space of like fun. And don't immediately dive in and looking at the cost. Well, I finally put on my big girl panties and was like, all right, how much are you? And we get it in our head that we have to have this partner. We have to have this item. We have to make X amount of money, or else like everything's going to be misery. And then we hold it, we hold people and we hold things to such unrealistic expectations when we don't realize that we could be really happy with not something less, but we could be really happy with something else. And it's that whole concept of where I talk to clients about in relationships all the time, where you're like, where's my soulmate? Where's my soulmate? I only like blondes. Where's my soulmate? Where's my soulmate? Where, like, how come I haven't found my soulmate? They're actually over there. You can't see them because you got your blinders on. She recently dyed her hair brunette. Like, we get so focused. So there's something to be said for focus, yes. But when you put your tunnel vision on and it's this and only this is not to be confused with making a decision and saying, I'm only available for blank. But when you cut off all other possibilities of something better, we think that we know best. And remember, you're only using 26% of your brain at best. No, you don't know best. You don't even have a clue. Neither do I. Neither does somebody else. Neither does your mom. Neither does your partner. So have an idea, but be open to something better. So we hold on to this is what's going to make me happy. I'll be happy when fill in the blank. And then we wonder why we're never happy, because we're never achieving. We're delaying our happiness until a certain point. When you dial it in and you look at your values, when you understand what your values are, which is what this whole exercise was about, you can be happy in acknowledging these values. And to go back to putting the price tag on what a successful life looks like for me, turns out it's not $1 million. Can I be exponentially happy with $1 million? Definitely. Am I still going to strive for $1 million? Absolutely. But do I have to delay my happiness until I get $1 million? No. Do I need $1 million to be happy? No. Do I need $500,000 to be happy? No. Can I be unemployed in quarantine and still be happy? Yes. How? These exercises. Finding my values. Embracing those values. And then living those values every day. So, want to find out what your values are? I want to find out what your values are, and I would love it if you guys would share with me some of the things that came up for you, especially the ones that surprised you, that confused you, that you're like, hey, Cassandra, I don't know you and you don't know me, but like this came up for me and this is the kind of person I am. I'm not sure why this showed up. Can we talk about that? Yes, I would love to talk about that. And we can talk about that in my group coaching. You've got 2 opportunities today, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Just send me a DM with your email address so you can get on my list so I can send you the link, because it's going to be on Zoom. Or if those times don't work for you, or if you're like, no, I would rather just talk to you in private about this. Like, I'm really curious. I want to talk to you more about XYZ. Totally cool. Send me a DM and we will schedule a clarity call. Totally free as well, and it's just you and me one-on-one. It's usually about a half an hour, but sometimes they go a little bit longer. Totally cool, totally free. We'll get to creating the success plan, going deeper, and getting you your actionable plans for this. So thank you guys so much for being here, and today is Thursday, so I will see you again tomorrow morning for another Rise and Shine episode. Not sure what's going on if we have another small business or not. I hope we do. So maybe I'll see you again in a few hours. But otherwise, I will see you tomorrow morning. No, what am I talking about tomorrow morning? I will see you for our free coaching session at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. As always, guys, thank you again. Cough in your elbow, wash your hands, and stay home. Love y'all.